If you hold XRP, Sui, Ondo, or virtually any other altcoin in the crypto industry that are part of the top 100 by market capitalization, it's more important than ever before to lock in and pay very close attention to the crypto markets because of what I'm going to share with you in this video. For example, when we look at the Bitcoin Pi cycle top prediction for this market cycle and where it will put Bitcoin's price, what that means for altcoins like XRP, Sui, or Ondo will absolutely blow your mind. But this happens first. As the altcoin market drops relative to Bitcoin, the good news is that it will most likely bounce when we get to this key level. And if you know how to position yourself properly by applying what I'm going to share with you in this video, you can separate yourself from the 90+% of traders and investors that get absolutely wrecked. Because the key to becoming a millionaire in crypto or trading in general is not just about when you sell crypto. It's about knowing when to buy based on key levels on the charts, so you're not operating based on emotion, the fear of missing out, greed, or what people are sharing with you on social media to try and get you to buy something while they're turning around selling it on your head. In this video, I'm going to share with you guys the truth, the facts, the charts, and what I see happening in the markets right now based on data. So if you like crypto, if you like making money, comment 777 if you guys are feeling blessed, if you're feeling bullish. And as always, if you're going to become the first millionaire in your family tree, I want you to confirm it right now by tapping the subscribe button. Let's run it. All right, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So there's a few hours left in our $100 XRP giveaway. We're going to announce the winner tonight at 10 p.m. So all you need to do to enter and to win is follow us on Twitter or x.com, BullRunnersHQ, and you'll see a pinned post. Simply like the post, retweet it, and comment XRP on the post, and then just make sure you're subscribed to our daily video newsletter. That link will be below as well. It'll take you to a page that looks like this. You just click the button, put in your best email address. That'll instantly subscribe you to the list, and you'll also get access to our free book called Altcoin Secrets, the underground guidebook to become a crypto millionaire. Now, here's the reality, and here's the truth. Becoming a millionaire in crypto is actually very difficult. It is not easy, and the vast majority of people will lose money. But if you listen to what I'm going to share with you, you can gain a competitive edge that will separate you from the majority that lose money in the markets so you can achieve success. Because I've been in crypto since 2016, 2017. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've also had a pretty good amount of success that allows me to travel the world and trade crypto from anywhere as long as I have a Wi-Fi connection. And now I make videos to educate people from all around the world how they can do the same thing. For example, in this account right here from May 29th, just a few days ago, you guys can see Bitcoin's percentage change compared to the profit and loss on the daily for my account. And you can see right here, Bitcoin was down 3%. I was up 8.99%. The next day, Bitcoin was down 4%. I'm up 6%. On the 31st, Bitcoin down 4%, up 11%. And today with Bitcoin down 4.8%, my total P&L is up 23%. And I showed you guys yesterday, I was up between 20 and 30K. Today, I'm up over 40K. So if you guys want to learn how to trade the crypto market starting with as little as $100, then below this video, when you click more right here, you're going to see a few links. The first link is an exchange where you can trade tons of different cryptos, and that is our affiliate link. If you go through our link, there's a 10% deposit bonus up to 50K through the end of July. Also, you're going to see where it says Join Altcoin Pro University. It'll take you to a page that looks like this where you guys can watch the 13-minute video. Once you get started, click on Classroom, scroll down, go to Technical Analysis Essentials right here, and you can dive right into these trainings and these modules to better understand how to read charts. So let's just dive right into the charts and let's talk about what's happening in the markets, because right here on the Pi cycle top prediction tool, this is estimating when Bitcoin's bull market may be nearing its end. So when the 111-day moving average approaches the 350-day moving average, multiplied by 2, it suggests that Bitcoin's price is rising unsustainably. And this happens during the euphoria phase of the market cycle, where virtually everything is going parabolic and greed is at an all-time high. And historically, after this crossover, Bitcoin's price has corrected, often leading into a bear market. Therefore, this indicator can serve as a valuable risk management tool, alerting investors when market conditions are overheating and when it's a good time to sell. And you guys can see in the past, this red vertical dashed line has signaled when the Pi cycle top has come in after the 111-day moving average crossed above the 350 times 2. And it marked it in right here when Bitcoin's price was around $59,900, just days before the high. So this indicator is very, very accurate. The cycle before then, you can see the Pi cycle top indicator marked it in when Bitcoin was at $19,641, pretty much at the exact peak So you would have been selling the top for Bitcoin before the bear market during that cycle. And if we zoom into the cycle before then, you can see it marked two pi cycle peaks. The first one was right here on April 6th of 2013 when Bitcoin's price was around $143. A few days later, it topped out, but you would have been selling very, very close to the peak of that high because Bitcoin sold off after that to about $68 and consolidated until about November of 2013 before experiencing the blow off top for that bull run. Then it marked the next high at around $1,027, one day after the peak around $1,135. So this indicator is very accurate. And as you can see in the upper right hand side of the screen right here, it's saying no projected cross at this time because with Bitcoin's price around $100,000, $104,000, well, the 111 moving average is around $92,000 and the 350 DMA times 2 is around $162,000. So these two moving averages are nowhere near crossing right now, telling us that Bitcoin still has higher to go. So in my opinion, we're between the hope and the belief stage in the psychology of a market cycle, and we haven't seen thrill or euphoria yet. Well, does this mean you should buy Bitcoin? Well, not necessarily, because what I'm going to share with you on Bitcoin's price chart will shock most people. And before we experience the thrill and euphoria stage, this happens first. If we look at Bitcoin compared to the last few market cycles, paired up with the Bitcoin stock to flow rainbow indicator on top of the relative strength index and the stochastic RSI, we can see some confluence here. For example, point number one is we transition from yellow to light green in the Bitcoin stock to flow rainbow indicator. In the last few times that happened, we saw a breakout for Bitcoin. Right here in July of 2017 from about $1,900 all the way up here to about $5,000 by September of 2017. The next time was right here in July of 2021 for Bitcoin at about $28,000 to all the way up here to about $52,000 by September of 2021. And currently we've seen Bitcoin rally from about $74,000 upwards of $112,000, experiencing a significant breakout in bullish momentum after this drastic sell-off in this falling wedge, similar to what we've seen happen the last few bull runs. Now, number two is if we look at the relative strength index right now, we've seen Bitcoin pull back from about 76 on the RSI to currently at about 53. And if we look right here on September of 2017, when the RSI peaked out at about 79 and pulled back to about 53, that's when we experienced a major pullback in Bitcoin's price chart. Over the course of a few days, Bitcoin dropped about 17%. And then over the course of 2 weeks, Bitcoin dropped 40%. Now on the right-hand side of the screen, we can see this bearish divergence that I talked about in my video yesterday, where Bitcoin's price chart was making higher highs in 2021, whereas the relative strength index and the stochastic RSI was making lower highs. But when Bitcoin peaked out here at about $52,000, we saw the RSI pull back from about 68 on that first initial pullback to about 44, somewhat similar to what we saw happen in 2017 and what we're seeing happen now. So I know the title of this video says prepare to become a millionaire. So understand this, it's not going to happen overnight, but what we're going through right now is going to present the best buying opportunities for altcoins that I'm going to explain in a little bit. Because number three, looking at the stochastic RSI, we can see the K line, the D line are at 5 and 2.47 all the way down here in oversold territory. Now that doesn't mean that the bottom is in yet for Bitcoin, because the last few cycles when we saw this happen, we saw Bitcoin drop 25% in 2021 and then 40% in 2017. And currently Bitcoin is only down 7%. So we need to brace ourselves for what's coming next, because look at the stochastic RSI. Back here in 2017, we experienced a bearish cross up here above 80. The stochastic RSI comes all the way down here below 20 on that first initial pullback. Then we saw this short-term temporary recovery. It put in a lower high and then a massive sell-off to the downside right here to about $2,900, where that bullish cross was a fake out for the stochastic RSI to come all the way back down here, pretty much at 0 for both the K line and the D line. And if we look at 2021 on that pullback, we saw a bearish cross right here, right at about 71 for the K line, the D line. The stochastic RSI comes all the way down here, pretty much at 0 with that pullback. And then we saw a short-term recovery, just like we saw right here in 2017. We saw it again in 2021 for a lower high, and then the price sells off for a bottom around $39,000, $40,000. Then if you look at the stochastic RSI right here for 2021, we saw a bounce, a pullback for a higher low, whereas the price chart was putting in a lower low. That was a bullish divergence, which is a major reversal indicator. And then the market sent Bitcoin all the way back up above $60,000 for the double top there, and then the bear market started. So I believe that's what we're going through right now, because Bitcoin's first initial pullback right here from $112,000 to $102,000, while the stochastic RSI reset all the way down here below 0, is the first initial move. Now, what comes next for Bitcoin in the short term, I think, is a temporary short-term recovery, but I believe it leads to a lower high. this is when everyone's going to start coming back into the market and getting extremely bullish. But I want you to be on your toes here, because based on what's happening in the past, if we see that short-term recovery for Bitcoin, the stochastic RSI will most likely see a little recovery in the short term. But if history is any signpost of what's to come right now, I would expect there to be a pullback in the stochastic RSI, and for Bitcoin to see a massive leverage flush to liquidate a lot of long traders that are going to be coming in the market when Bitcoin starts pushing back upwards of $108,000 or $109,000. And this could bring Bitcoin back down to $100,000, potentially even lower than that, because you guys can see this massive zone right here that Bitcoin consolidated at between February of 2025 and then on this recovery right here from the end of April until May of this year. So if we see Bitcoin pull back within this region right here, I would expect there to be a massive bounce for Bitcoin before continuing higher. And then that would be the signal that I'd be looking for on the stochastic RSI for the K line, the D line to finally reverse back to the upside. Same thing for the relative strength index, because right now we're in the middle of a range. We're at 53. We're in neither overbought conditions or oversold conditions on the relative strength index. So I'm not overly bullish. I'm also not overly bearish. I wait for these key indicators to reset. So with the short-term recovery rally for the relative strength index, if Bitcoin experiences a massive pullback, that would look like the RSI coming back down closer to 30, potentially even below 30. For example, on this pullback right here on the 14th of September of 2017, look at what happened to the relative strength index. It bounced from 52 to 61 on that recovery for Bitcoin. And then on that final C wave on the sell-off, we saw the RSI come all the way down here to about 27 before bouncing and reversing back to the upside. Same thing right here in September of 2021. We saw the short-term recovery from 45 to about 53. The RSI puts in a lower high, and then we see it sell off all the way down here to about 33. So this is what I would want to see for the relative strength index over the next few weeks and the next month or two, is a short-term recovery bounce for Bitcoin, lots of people getting overly bullish, and then a major liquidation to bring the RSI closer to 30 or even below 30. That is when I would get extremely bullish for the crypto market, because like I just said at the beginning of this video, you don't make the most amount of money by buying high. You make your money by buying low. And we are about to see generational entry points for very select key altcoins, because others compared to Bitcoin continue to bleed out to the downside, bringing the RSI down to 36 and the K line, the D line for the stochastic RSI all the way down here below 1. And so we're in a downtrend for others. That's everything outside of the top 10, where we're putting in lower highs and lower lows. And so while we're in a downtrend, the trend is your friend. Even with a short-term recovery in others compared to Bitcoin, I still think we're going to experience some bleeding to the downside, especially if Bitcoin sells off closer to $100,000 or below $100,000. This would cause others to absolutely get obliterated, potentially bringing the market cap down here to levels that we were at all the way in January of 2021 and even November of 2018 before we see alt season really kick off and a rotation of capital from Bitcoin. This would then cause the stochastic RSI to reverse back to the upside along with the relative strength index. So the biggest opportunity to buy the low cap altcoins is coming soon, but until then, Bitcoin's dominance continues to climb. And so what we need to see in order to see altcoins absolutely explode is Bitcoin's dominance to drop. Because right now it's at 64.44%, and we won't see alt season for the mid caps or the micro cap projects until this falls. And if we look here all the way back to August of 2019 until January of 2021, Bitcoin's dominance rallied all the way upwards of 70%. And if we look at XRP's price chart sitting at $2.17, well, I talked about this about 1 month ago, and this is what I said. Now, one altcoin that we need to watch closely is XRP, because when Bitcoin pulls back, I would expect that to cause a pullback in XRP. We have not seen XRP break this downtrend yet decisively, because as you can see, since this high right here on the 16th of January, we're just still in this downtrend. Sure, we've broken out from $1.60 and we're just sitting at $2.20, but that doesn't mean XRP won't pull back when Bitcoin sees a pullback, because if we trace up the Wyckoff event next to XRP, if Bitcoin pushes higher in the short term to $99,000 to $102,000 before a pullback, I would expect XRP to, come up between $2.40 to $2.50. But on that pullback for Bitcoin, I think we're still in phase B of the Wyckoff. And what that would look like would be a rejection from these resistance lines, which is a previous range high of the 18th of March. So this is the major resistance that we need to watch for XRP. And until we clear that resistance, we're still going to be in a ranging market / downtrend until we go into phase D, which is the SOS phase. And so I think the spring is coming for XRP. And what that would look like on the price chart is for XRP to make a move back into this zone, get rejected from it, and then for us to range leading into June for either a higher low or a lower low for the spring phase in phase C. And then we finally see the breakout for XRP to clear this range, hold it as support for the SOS phase, and then finally phase E for the breakout to a new high later on this summer. And I know that's not what you want to hear, but this is what you need to be ready for, because so many people are going to get extremely bullish when XRP gets closer to $2.50, but they don't realize that Bitcoin in the past week has experienced this massive bullish candle. When people start buying into candles like this, those are the types of people that get wrecked. And then we go through these longer consolidation periods before we see breakouts to the upside, causing a lot of people to panic who bought here and sell out on the pullback, calling crypto a scam, when in reality, they didn't subscribe to the channel, they didn't watch these videos, and they only buy when everyone's buying and everyone's excited. And then when you look at indicators like the stochastic RSI, well, we just experienced a bearish cross above 80 in overbought conditions for XRP while the price is still in a downtrend. So yes, in the short term, we could see XRP move higher, but the smartest thing to do is watch these indicators and accumulate when we are in oversold conditions on macro trend reversals. So I would expect the stochastic RSI to stay above 80 for an extended period of time until XRP tops out. Then once we see that pullback for XRP and that consolidation, I would want to see this stochastic RSI come all the way back down below 20 to consider accumulating more XRP. Because if we look back to the breakout that took place from this downtrend on the 21st of August of 2017, XRP had been putting in lower highs since the 17th of May of 2017. We finally broke and closed above it right here on the 22nd of August with this massive price spike all the way up here to like 30 cents. And sure enough, the stochastic RSI went from all the way down here below 5 all the way upwards above 80. We experienced a bearish cross, and then the price coiled up while the stochastic RSI reset all the way down here below 20, and the price even pulled back even further, back down to back test the low of the 19th of August that XRP was at prior to the breakout. And then the stochastic RSI came all the way back down here for the best entry point, rebounding off of this key low right here at about 15 cents. Then we saw the stochastic RSI rally all the way back above 80 again while the price experienced another breakout. Then we see this bearish cross, the price comes back down again, rinse and repeat. The stochastic RSI comes back down again below 20. Then we start another breakout all the way up here. On the way up, there's some volatility in the stochastic RSI. As you can see, it comes above 80, drops back down to 50, back above 80 again, stays above 80 for an extended period of time. Bearish cross right here, about 28 cents. One final drop down for the stochastic RSI back below 20, and then massive explosion to the upside for a breakout. So these consolidations can last for a period of time, guys. That's why you don't just buy into a breakout like what you saw happen right here, because then you're left to go through this grueling, exhausting washing machine price action here where the price goes up, it goes down, and you just don't know what's going to happen next if you're just looking at the price chart right here. So when we pair it up with something like the stochastic RSI, you guys can get better entry points, because if I just clear the chart right here and I circle the points when the stochastic RSI is all the way down at the lowest levels, well, you can see that it's just a fact that you're getting the best possible entry points like a pro trader here. And I can simply just draw this zone of support right here for where I would need to see the stochastic RSI dip back into for me to be able to buy. That way I don't miss key opportunities, because if you just draw a zone of support right here on the price chart, well, as you can see, you would have only accumulated on the 15th of September and like the 19th of August, but you would have missed this entry point right here on the 23rd of October. You also would have missed this entry point on the 8th of December because XRP was putting in higher lows in this uptrend before the breakout. So that's why we need to pair it with the stochastic RSI with horizontal supports below 20 at previous levels that both the K line and the D line have dipped to. So for example, since like the 5th of December, the lowest low that the K line has come to is like 0.01, pretty much close to 0. And if I were to draw up here to about 7 to 8, if I want to get more aggressive and I don't really care about getting the best entry point, but relative on the macro, I could draw it up to 10 for horizontal support for where my buy zone would be on the macro. And I just create a strategy for myself where I only accumulate XRP when the K line and the D line are in this zone. And if I just put a date range here for when we dipped into that zone to how long it took to finally break out of that zone to the upside, we can see that it varies between 3 days, we have 12 days, 13 days, 27 days. So that tells me that I don't want to just buy the first day that it gets into the zone to get a better entry point, because if I just mark up with a vertical line when we first dipped into that zone on the price chart on each of these major pullbacks, you can see that I'm not really getting the best entry point. Like right here is at $2.26. The price dipped down to $1.90. Even right here, I would have been buying at $3. I would have been buying at $2.20. And then the price dipped down to $1.90. I would have been buying at $2.18, and then the price came down to $1.60. Or if instead I look for things like divergences, I also look for confluence on other charts for the relative strength index to come back within a zone of support as well too, then I can get better entry points. Because as you can see right here, when the price dipped down to $1.94, well, the RSI was all the way up here at 32. So if I just draw a horizontal ray right there, you could see while the stochastic RSI for K line, the D line were below 10 when the price was right here at $2.15. The relative strength index was at 40. So had I would have given it a little bit of time to play out, we can see that the K line came back down to like 0.40 and the RSI came down to 30 as well too. A much better entry point buying at $1.79 than all the way up here at $2.20. Even though you didn't accumulate the exact low at $1.60, it's still a pretty good entry point because right now, look at where the RSI is at. It's at 53 and then the K line, the D line are at 94 and 89. Buying into these levels is how you get absolutely wrecked because it's very well possible that XRP falls off the shelf and comes back down to like $1.70 to $1.80. I'm not saying that that will happen. In fact, I would actually expect XRP to push a little bit higher in the short term, but at some point, I do expect a deeper pullback and a consolidation for XRP. And so we're going to be watching the stochastic RSI. We're also going to watch the relative strength index. And we're going to see if XRP gets rejected from $2.50 or if it pushes higher than $2.50 and holds it as support for the next pullback. So just be ready for some massive volatility over the next few weeks. Don't get FOMO. Don't get caught buying into the hype, buying into the rallies, because there always are pullbacks. And there always are opportunities for better entry points, even if you're buying higher. For example, if XRP breaks $2.50 and holds it as support, yes, you would be buying higher up here than you are buying right now, but it saves you from something like this where XRP comes back down and then you're left holding for an extended period of time, waiting for the next breakout, when you could be buying into a confirmed trend reversal and back test of a key support before continuation to the upside. And there are some more nuanced points that you have to master, and that's why we created the Technical Analysis Essentials course inside of Altcoin Pro University. You can actually click the link below to get access to it, and then you just go to the classroom right here on the top, you click the Technical Analysis Essentials, and you can run through all of these videos. There's over 28 videos teaching you guys everything you need to know about candlesticks, bullish and bearish patterns, moving averages, relative strength index, different oscillators like the MACD, stochastic RSI, Bollinger Bands, different Fibonacci tools and how to use them, and then the 4 horsemen of technical analysis to give you a strong foundation to work from. So that way, when you look at a chart, almost it's like knowing how to tie your shoe. And even though nobody can accurately predict with 100% certainty what's going to happen next, when you understand the key things that are taught inside the Technical Analysis Essentials course, you'll become a sniper with your entry points on all of these pullbacks, and you'll be better at dollar cost averaging, giving you a better average cost basis. So that way your portfolio is in more profit by the time we reach the top of the bull run, rather than letting your emotions drive your decisions. We use data for all of our decisions here. And that's why you're watching this video to this point. And because we use data, we look at indicators, we look for confluence. That's how we're able to spot things like what's happening right now. For example, after I made that video, look at what happened. XRP rallied up to about $2.67. It was rejected from this key zone of resistance, but looking at the key indicators right here on the daily, like the relative strength index and the stochastic RSI, what did we see happen? Well, we saw a bearish cross here above 80 for the stochastic RSI, the relative strength index topped out at about 69, and the price pulled back along with these key indicators. Now the RSI is at 40, and look at where the stochastic RSI is at, 9 and 4.9 for the K line and the D line. So like clockwork, time and time again, newbies came into the market. They didn't watch that video because it's very technical. 15,000 people out of 364,000 subscribers saw it. And so consider yourself one of the rare few. That's why over 90% fail and lose money in crypto, because if we take 15,000 viewers and divide that by 364,000, watch what it shows. Only 4% of our subscribers saw that. So roughly 96% of investors are not paying attention, which tells me everything that I need to know. Over 90% of people will lose money in these markets. But if you want to become a part of the top 10%, let alone the top 1%, pay close attention to what I'm going to share with you. So we saw XRP pull back after getting rejected from this key level of resistance, very similar to what we saw happen back here in 2017. XRP got rejected from this key level right here. The relative strength index pulled back from near 70 all the way back down to about 36. The stochastic RSI experienced a bearish cross above 80, reset all the way down here below 20. And so on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, we don't want to buy right when the K line, the D line drop below 20. We want to give it a little bit of time here. And as you can see on the price chart on the left-hand side of the screen, that was during the pullback from about 26 cents right here to about 18 cents for XRP, back down to this level of support, while the stochastic RSI pulled down below 20. On this recovery right here to about 23 cents, we experienced a bullish cross, but this was a major fake out because we got rejected right here from 25, and the stochastic RSI dropped even lower than that, closer to 0 at like 0.22 for the K line here in blue, and then we experienced a bullish cross. After the price pulled back and liquidated all of the long traders that were entering in upwards of 23 cents, it pulls back down within this level of support that it was at right here before the breakout. And look on the right-hand side of the screen. We saw the exact same thing happen for XRP recently. XRP tops out about $2.60 something cents. We see this first initial sell-off right here. The stochastic RSI comes all the way down here below 20. We see XRP struggle to hold $2.28 as support. Once it broke below it, look at what happened in the stochastic RSI. It comes all the way down here close to 0, experienced a bullish cross, but we still need to be careful here because as you guys can see with this wick at about 14 cents right here on the 15th of September, we saw a bounce for XRP back into this resistance right here, and then a double bottom where XRP pulled back down before making a recovery on out of here. So like I just mentioned at the beginning of this video, if Bitcoin sees a recovery here in the short term, I would expect XRP to make a short-term temporary recovery. But we have a major resistance here at about $2.28 to $2.30. And so could that be a major fake out on the stochastic RSI for it to roll back down again to see it experience a double bottom? While XRP's price gets rejected from $2.30 to come down even further, within this yellow zone of support right here, anywhere between $1.70 to $2 that XRP has wicked in ever since December of 2024, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Well, it's very well possible, but this would get me extremely excited because this would be the reset on the relative strength index that I would want to see to bring XRP closer to 30 or even below it on the relative strength index. Because right now on the daily, we're sitting at 40 on the RSI, and we experienced the first bullish cross on the stochastic RSI. So it's not a terrible entry point for XRP. If we do what we did back here from the 15th of September 2017 until the 22nd, because this wick at 14 cents was lower than the next high, we just put in higher lows. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to come back down here, but we want confirmation on this second pullback before XRP breaks this resistance at $2.30, simultaneously confirming a bullish cross above 20 for the stochastic RSI, because this is how we tend to see reversals take place. It's not just you bottom once and then you just rocket to the upside. We have to liquidate a lot of long traders right here before experiencing some type of double bottom. Now, whether that double bottom is a lower low or a higher low, we will see, but nonetheless, that's what I'm expecting. Now, in that same video, I talked about a few other altcoins like HBAR, Sui, and Ondo, and this is what I said about Sui. And on top of that, if we look at percentage performance here compared to virtually all the other top projects like HBAR, Pepe, ADA, Ondo, Dogecoin, XLM, Bitcoin, XRP, etc., Sui is just drastically outperforming the market. So this is really important to watch because on this breakout rally right here from this downtrend, the projects that are performing the best are most likely the ones that are going to be performing the best to the top of the bull run. So if Sui is an outlier here, that is a very good sign. And I talked about Sui in my video like 2 days ago. I said, watch this breakout. If Bitcoin continues higher, Sui's most likely going to continue higher in the short term. But when Bitcoin starts to pull back, Sui will just experience a pullback. And we saw this happen all the way back here on this breakout in August of 2024. So Sui broke out from the low. It rallied all the way up here to the previous range from the 9th of April to like the 9th of June that Sui consolidated at, got rejected from it, came all the way back down here for a higher low. And I would bet if I pull up the stochastic RSI, sure enough, on that breakout, look at what happened to the stochastic RSI in the daily. The K line, the D line came all the way up here above 80. Everyone was buying into Sui during this phase right here, just like how everyone's going to be buying into Sui during this phase right here. While we're rallying into this zone of resistance, all while the stochastic RSI is at 100 and 100 for the K line, the D line. We're drastically overbought conditions. So I would not be buying Sui right now. Not financial advice. You guys can do what you want. These videos are purely for education and informational purposes only. And I could be 100% wrong here. I just look at data to make my decisions. And I hope that's okay with you, because right now at 100 and 100 right here on the lower right hand side of the screen, right here, we're in massive overbought conditions on the daily chart. And we saw the same thing right here by the 12th of August when Sui wicked off of $1.11, and then we experienced a pullback of about 33%. So if Sui goes a little higher in the short term, we'll pull back of like 10%, 11%, we bring it back down to about $3.25. A pullback of 26% would bring it right back to this previous high right here on the 27th of March. And so this is why we watch Bitcoin's price chart. Bitcoin's at 100 and 100, Sui's at 198. And so I think we're about to experience a bearish cross here, and we're about to experience the pullback for Sui and the consolidation over the next week or two. And when that pullback happens, we're going to watch the stochastic RSI, and we're going to see if it comes back down below 20. Because as you can see, when Sui pulled back to 74 cents right here, the stochastic RSI pulled all the way back down here below 3. Way better entry point than buying into a massive breakout, because this breakout could be a major fake out. and we could see the price consolidate before breaking higher. So this is what I'm looking for on the price chart is SUI to pull back in the short term, the stochastic RSI to experience a bearish cross and come back down below 80, potentially below 20. Again, it doesn't have to happen that way. We could experience a bearish cross, then bullish cross, then bearish cross above 80 while the price consolidates and then breaks higher. But overall, it's just not smart buying into massive green candles like this because we're up 68% over the past 4 days. I think you could get a better entry point having some patience over the next week or two. And sure enough, SUI is destroying the rest of the market, including XRP in total transactions, but that's not a reason enough to just buy something right in that moment, because if we look at the price chart, look at what happened after I made that video. Well, right here on the daily chart, SUI experienced a bearish cross up here above 80. The price pulled back in the short term. Because Bitcoin was still hot, SUI did push a little bit higher, but that was simply a lower high on the stochastic RSI. It was also a lower high on the relative strength index, which is a major bearish divergence. And SUI topped out about $4.33 before pulling back all the way to $3.06. So had you have not listened to me in that video and bought SUI, that was around $3.50. Well, you would have seen 10% to the upside, but 11% to the downside in that pullback. And even all the way up here by the 12th of May, only 22% to the upside, while right now we're down 6% from that period 30 days later. So that's why I share this stuff to help you guys save a lot of money so you're not buying into major breakouts like this because you see some news like this about SUI outperforming the rest of the market when you need to learn how to look at charts. Because SUI is currently down 28% from the local high. And if we look at the K line and the D line, it's at 8.4 and 8.02, and we've been below 20 since the middle of May. So if we see a short-term recovery for Bitcoin, then SUI most likely experience a short-term recovery. And if Bitcoin sells off hard, then that could be another low for SUI, either a lower low or a higher low, pretty similar to what we saw happen back here in October of 2024 until November. SUI broke out. It was a failed rally, a lower high, and then SUI put in a higher low. So whether that's a lower low for SUI or a higher low before we experience the next move to the upside, well, eventually the stochastic RSI would reverse back above 20 and the relative strength index as well too would see a bounce. Now, if we see the relative strength index come back down to these levels that we were at on the 2nd of February, the 10th of March, and even the 6th of April, that would be absolutely credible in my opinion. And I would probably be accumulating more SUI after Bitcoin experiences that major flush out for a bounce to the upside. Now, in that exact same video about a month ago, I also talked about Ondo, and here's what I said. So Ondo's chart looks very similar to Total 2, which is the crypto total market cap, excluding Bitcoin. All of the indicators right here are signaling that we're going to see a pullback here in the short term, and we're going to see some consolidation for Total 2 for potentially a higher low, similar to what happened back here during this phase on the breakout. Because if we look at the stochastic RSI, again, K line and the D line are at 100 and 99. Look at Ondo's chart, K line and the D line, 99 and 97. We're in overbought conditions. The relative strength index has bounced off of the RSI-based moving average at 53. So the RSI is sitting at 63. The RSI is at 60 for Total 2. We can see that the MACD is roughly right around the 0 line. Same thing for Total 2. It's close to the 0 line. So this is how I'd expect Ondo's chart to play out, similar to SUI. If we experience a push upwards in the short term, the next resistance to watch is right around $1.22 within this range right here, like $1.20, $1.22. Kind of similar to this breakout right here that happened for Ondo back in September of 2024. It broke back into this support from the 8th of July as resistance. You guys can just see the same thing playing out here on the left-hand side of the screen. We have the support, which then acts as resistance, And so yes, we could push higher in the short term from 99 cents to $1.20. Definitely possible. But when that breakout happens, just watch the stochastic RSI. We're going to wait for a bearish cross all the way above 80, and we're going to see if that brings it back down below 20 for a better entry point, like what happened all the way back here by like the 4th of November when the price pulled back to like 59 cents for a higher low, and then we rebounded off of that to the upside. So depending on how deep that causes Ondo to drop, I'm just going to make another video for you guys, and I'm going to explain that while we also look at Total 2, while we also look at Bitcoin. And if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, that's exactly what happened for Ondo. We rallied back into this zone of resistance right here, about $1.12, and now we've pulled back to about 80 cents, and we're currently sitting at 83 cents. Simultaneously, the relative strength index topped out here close to 70, and it's dropped all the way to 38. The stochastic RSI experienced a bearish cross above 80. Right now, the K line and the D line are at 6 and at 4, all the way down here in oversold conditions, and we are experiencing a higher low for Ondo. So when you guys subscribe to the channel, I'm going to keep explaining this stuff for you, and then I'll bring up these past videos and I'll share with what I see happening right now and my expectations moving forward. So I do expect there to be a short-term bounce in the markets for Ondo, and we just have to be careful here, because if it's not an aggressive bounce and we don't just come back up into this zone of resistance and Bitcoin doesn't, break out and do a new all-time high, high, then we could see that be a failed rally for another low before the markets finally experience a reversal to the upside. Because right now, total 2 on the right-hand side of the screen is at $1.15 trillion. We got rejected from this level right here at near 1.3 trillion. And so if we see a pullback for Bitcoin, then altcoins could experience a much steeper pullback for a higher low before that break to the upside. I would expect something like this, and for there to be massive volatility over the next 1 to 2 months. So if you guys want to learn how to become a better crypto investor and where to go to spot the best opportunities to accumulate altcoins that are going to see the largest growth when that breakout happens, then make sure you click the link in the description below to get our free ebook, Get Started with Altcoin Pro University, and take action before that breakout happens. Because our research team posted GOAT on the 13th of October of 2024 when it was right at a penny, and since then it rallied to over $1, 5,000%. That's like turning $1,000 into over $50,000. Our team called Pendle at only a $16 million market cap, or 16 cents, back on February 18th of 2023, all the way back here, and since then it's rallied up over 4,000%. That's a 40x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $40,000. Our team also called BitTensor Tau September 15th, 2022, before the token was ever even launched. And since then, Tau has rallied over 2,000%. That's a 20x. Our team even said Solana is most likely to be one of the easiest trades next year, and this was posted December 29th, 2022, on the day that Solana bottomed out at around $8. And since then, Solana looks like it's up over 2,500%. That's a 25x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $25,000. The list goes on and on and on. Our team called Sui, Ondo, and even some of the biggest cult-based meme coins like MOG back in July 20th of 2023, the day that MOG launched. So if you want to learn how our team is finding these altcoins before they explode, we just launched Altcoin Pro University, where our research team gives you real-time altcoin picks with explosive potential for this bull run, along with 100+ expert curated classes crafted by industry experts to discover these gems yourself, on top of our live weekly calls every single week for in-depth crypto market analysis and daily updates. And that's just a fraction of what we offer inside of Altcoin Pro University through the link below. And although we make no guarantees because crypto is definitely risky, guys, this is only $97 a month or $970 a year. If you want to save $194, getting 2 months for free and unlock some exclusive bonuses, just go through the link in the description below. Get in right now. Watch the 26-minute video covering everything that Altcoin Pro University offers to help you become the first millionaire in your family tree, if that's a goal of yours. And you can get started through the link in the description below right now, or you can go to bullrunners.com to take advantage of the bonuses we're giving you before they expire. Everyone is loving the community. They're loving the education. They're getting access to real-time altcoin picks first before we ever make videos about them. So click the link in the description below, watch the video, and I'll see you on the inside.
To the canyons fall, the great awakening's calling you.
My fellow Americans and time-traveling patriots, where we go one, we go all together. One nation, under God,